The Detroit Tigers make some roster moves this weekend, organizationally and at the major league level. We have the return of Erod finally 3 months later, and the Tigers take 2 of 3 from the Los Angeles Angels. All today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, August, almost said July, 22nd, 2022. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Okay, the Detroit Tigers take 2 of 3. Take 2 of 3 from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Shohei Ohtani pitched on Sunday. The Tigers looked pretty solid against him. Erod came back on Sunday. Jackson Jobe called up. I guess we'll start there. I was kind of just spewing everything I wanted to talk about at the beginning of the show. Right, of course, naturally, as things happen in the world, right after I recorded Friday's show about the updated top 30 prospects list, the Tigers make a plethora of promotions and demotions within the organization. That's just how it goes. Not mad about it. Highlighted by, however, the promotion of Jackson Jobe, who will now, for the remainder of this season, be in high single A, the West Michigan Whitecaps. That'll be a super cool thing. And then Wilmer Flores, not promoted or demoted or anything, but in Erie, did pitch this weekend and looked pretty darn good. That was a very fun game to watch. So, kind of an implosion by the Tigers at the Erie Seawolves, I should say, at the end of the game. But Wilmer Flores, at least, when he was on the mound, was absolutely electric. So just some more organizational, some farm system stuff there. But the big news from the weekend was Eduardo Rodriguez returning to the Detroit Tigers. I have made it a point to not, and we've had this conversation a few times with each other, so we don't need to go like super in depth on it again. But I have made it a point that I was never going to speculate on what he was going through or really even talk about what he was going through unless it was like very, very public information that he decided was public information and he addressed it. And so if you want all the theories and everything, like I said, Heyman a while ago wrote a piece on why he thought he went back home and went with his family. I'm not here to talk about that. You know, he's back. It's been 3 months since he's pitched. It's been since late May since he's pitched at the major league level. Was on a rehab start. If you remember, against the Rays, he took the mound and his velocity was way down. He got pulled from the game. And then he went and did a rehab stint in AAA and he made a couple of starts down in AAA. And then right when he made his quote unquote last rehab start, that's when he just disappeared. And so it's good to see him back. They had a press conference and everything because they just want to get out in front of it, just get everything out in the open. We know it's going to be asked a million times. So let's just get this all done at once, rip the Band-Aid off, and then we don't have to talk about it anymore. And that's what they did. So Erod had a presser. Hinch was asked a lot of questions. And basically, again, I don't know, and I'm not going to like speculate and talk about what he could have been going through. But it was definitely something family oriented, as that's what he kept bringing up. He kept saying his family is his number one priority. It always will be. And the loss of checks, which is something that was kind of lost on a lot of this fan base, is it's not like he was getting paid during that time. He was not. He was on a list that did not pay him. So he goes on, go home, take care of some family business, a family matter, and just kept reiterating that his family would always be the top priority in his life, and he was never going to prioritize baseball or an organization or a paycheck over his family. And so that is why he made the decision he made. He said he's very grateful to be back, very, very thankful to be back, genuinely seemed very excited to be back on the mound. I mean, was posting all about it, was chopping it up with teammates and everything, and looked really good. He looked really solid. So we'll talk about his performance as a whole in the final segment, because I think we're going to go in chronological order here. But I just want to get that all out of the way because it's just easier too. So Erod is back, looked good, and still has years left on this contract. And if he can pitch like he is paid to do, and at the end of the day, this season is a lost season, whether he was a Cy Young candidate or not, it wouldn't have really mattered. So if he can pitch a full season's worth, if he can have 30 starts the next 3 years and pitch really well, I think people will kind of maybe not forget about, because it was unprecedented what we saw, but we'll certainly, I guess, maybe more forgiving as a fan base. Maybe will be the word we choose. I don't know. I don't like that either. But you get what I'm trying to say. If he lives up to anything the next 3 years, then I don't think people will really dwell too much on this season and everything, because everything for this team went wrong this year. It wasn't just Erod. So Friday's game is where we'll start, however, because that was a doozy. That was a Tigers masterclass. The offense did not show up whatsoever. And there's not even really anything to talk about because the offense did not show up whatsoever. It was a 1-0 final, and the Tigers had 4 hits and no walks, I believe. Yeah, they had 4 base runners. And the crazy thing is the Angels had 3 hits and 1 walk. So we both had 4 base runners, and they won 1-0. Like offensively, no one was good. So like we don't even need to really talk about the offense. Literally everyone looked terrible. Patrick Sandoval is a young pitcher that I've liked for a while, and you know, this offense is absolutely horrific and is historically bad, like historically bad. Um, but Patrick Sandoval was executing all of his pitches. His command was really good. His stuff was really good. That was very good execution. It's just the mistakes he did make, this team is so bad that they weren't able to take advantage of. So it was just a perfect storm of dude that looked really good and team that cannot take advantage of a single mistake playing against each other. You get this kind of dominant, complete game shutout performance that Sandoval had. Matt Manning started for the Detroit Tigers, and that is the bright spot in this one. His final line would be 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 Ks. One of the best starts he's ever had in his major league career. He looked absolutely fantastic. The reason why he looked fantastic, one, was four-seam fastball command. Only gave up 3 hits on the game, and the 4-seam fastballs that he did miss got punished, but they got punished into didn't get punished. There weren't enough of them to really get off a ton of hits or a ton of hard hit balls. The average exit velocity on the game for him was 83 miles an hour, and on the 4-seam fastball specifically was 81. So he was really, really, really solid. And yeah, the 4-seam fastball command I thought was very good enough, I guess is the phrase I want to use. It was good enough, but the biggest thing with him was the slider. The slider was absolutely fantastic. It's probably the best I've ever seen his breaking ball. And he's kind of had this issue in his development in the minors. Issue might not even be the right word because it worked out fine in this one. But when he was first coming up, we were told he had a crazy good curveball. And then he tried to learn a slider or incorporate a slider more into it in the low levels of the minors. And if you remember, there was that conversation everybody had when he was coming up through the minors of, oh, like these two pitches, I don't like the grip for them kind of mixed together. And now it's just kind of one like weird slider curveball-y mishmash pitch. And he wasn't able to really separate them. And in this one, he technically, according to Baseball Savant, threw 25 sliders and 9 curveballs. But it was kind of in the same boat of there were a couple like that were blatantly like that was definitely the curveball. But there were a couple sliders that I was like, I'm not sure that's a wholehearted, like purebred slider. You know what I mean? So, but regardless, no matter what the pitch was, his sinker was looking really good. So he still had 3 pitches going for him on the day. And I thought the breaking ball was unbelievable. He had 7 of his 12 whiffs on that slider, and his CSW percentage on the slider alone was 48%. And that's a pitch he threw 25 times. Almost half of the sliders he threw were either called strikes or swinging strikes. 32% CSW percentage on the game. He looked unbelievable. He was almost perfect. A couple of mistakes, like I said, but the Angels, you want to talk about another team whose offense is really, really laboring and cannot take advantage of mistakes. The Los Angeles Angels are certainly in that category too. It's just us to a historical extent and them to like a bottom of the league this year extent. You know what I mean? So Matt Manning looked unbelievable. It's just unfortunate that this offense didn't show up and we weren't able to take advantage of his incredible start. Joe Jimenez pitched in this one as well. He looked really good, and Jason Foley pitched in this one. He looked very good as well. So let's get into Saturday and Sunday's game. But first, I got to tell y'all about our friends over at LinkedIn Talent Solutions. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and that purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questioning make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small business rates LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you create the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Well, now you do. So post your free job for free, your free job for free at linkedinjobs.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, everybody, what is up? Segment 2. I don't think I've ever started a segment off by saying what is up. Maybe the beginning. Is that what I say? I honestly don't even know what my opening is. It's just so second nature to me and like muscle memory that I don't even know if I like actually thought about it, if I know what I said. It's just like light on, intro music plays, and then words come out. Segment 2 here, we're going to talk about the Tigers Saturday game. Tigers have won 2 games in a row at the time of this recording. And Saturday's game was actually a really good baseball game. I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a battle of 2 teams who had much better offensive approaches at the plate than on Friday. Like Friday was not. I really enjoy good pitching, and there was a lot of really good pitching in that. But the inability for both teams to take advantage of the mistakes that the pitchers did make was kind of just like, all right. I watched this game with a couple of my buddies, and they are Angels fans from California. And we all both said, like 2 innings into the game, okay, this is going to be a 1-0 final. Like that was the Angels score in the second inning, and we both looked around. We were like, all right, that's the final score. Neither of these teams are scoring because the offensive approach was terrible. Whereas Saturday and Sunday for that matter, but we'll get to that. Saturday, both teams really had a much more patient and I think I've said this before, patiently aggressive approach at the plate where like you're taking when you're supposed to be taking, you're not doing a bunch of chasing. And you are able to take advantage of pitchers' mistakes as well by being aggressive. Both starters in this game, Reed Detmers and Tyler Alexander, combined for 5 strikeouts between the two of them. So definitely a much different change of pace. Tigers win this one 4-3. No one scored after the 5th inning for either side. But the Angels scored in each of the first 3 innings, and the Tigers scored their 4 runs in the first 5 innings. So again, our bullpen has been really solid this year, and our offense is really bad and can go cold at any time. So That's why you get an entire second half of a game where there is no where there is no scoring. But again, I really did think, especially in the first half of this game, that the offensive approaches were significantly better. Riley Greene with a couple of hits. There was this discourse going around at the beginning of the weekend where it was like Riley Greene is, when do we start having the conversation about the fact that Riley Greene is struggling and whatnot? We'll get to Sunday's game because that's I'm not going to say he answered that question because it is one game at the end of the day, but he certainly looked very good on Sunday. Um, and so him having 2 hits on Saturday and then following it up with Sunday's performance, I think certainly injected a little bit more confidence into people that might have been slipping. We also talk about the Robbie Grossman thing. We'll do that at the end if we have time. So 2 hits for Riley Greene. Javy had a really rough weekend offensively. Didn't have a ton of errors or anything, but a really, really brutal weekend offensively for Javy Baez. And yeah, like this wasn't an offensive masterclass because like they had 11 hits and a couple of walks, but it's like even when they score runs, they like don't. Like they had what is that, 14 base runners and scored 4 runs. Did not hit a single home run, had 4 doubles, and one of them was Cody Clemens, like bloop double down the line that he was very out in front of and probably shouldn't have even been like a double. Um, and it's I've never seen a team where it almost feels like they accidentally score runs. Like that's legitimately what it feels like. Like even when they're and again, like on Sunday, Riley Greene hit a ball 450 feet. Like obviously that is a great thing, and he hit the ball hard, and that's very much on purpose. But like it almost just feels like in this, like you had 14 base runners and mustered 4 runs, and you didn't score in the entire second half of the game. Like it's just even when it's going right, you're watching and you're like, oh, like what do we leave on 11 base runners again in scoring position? Like, I don't know. It's such a frustrating year. And I know everybody shares that sentiment, but we will take a win. We will gladly take a win. In the offense, I thought definitely, again, in the first half of the game was much more patient, which almost always leads to much better success. And especially against an Angels bullpen that's not absolutely unbelievable. Being able to get Detmers, who since being recalled to the majors had like the no hitter right early in the year, and then couple of starts later got sent down because he wasn't really missing bats and it was kind of like whatever, right? He only had like 2 strikeouts, I think, in the no-hitter game. But then he comes back and he's a swing and miss machine. His K per nine has been really high and he's been missing a lot more bats. And I really like the kid going forward. I think he's got a really good fastball curveball combo there. But the team didn't chase like they did in the first game in game 2, and that's obviously a night and day difference. And being able to knock their starter out of the game early is something that we'll gladly take. And that's a old adage of baseball. It's always been around and is always a good thing. So even though they only had 3 pitchers pitch in this one because yeah, Berea had whatever, almost pitched 3 innings on his own. So pitching wise, Tyler Alexander starts this one for the Tigers. He goes 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 Ks. This was pretty much just I feel like I say this every time Tyler Alexander starts, actually. This was, again, just a textbook start on how you pitch when you miss barrels. That's what Tyler Alexander is. He's not going to get a ton of swings and misses. He's not going to rack up a ton of strikeouts unless for a random day in 2020 sets a AL strikeout record. But he had 5 whiffs on the game and 2 strikeouts, and his CSW percentage was 19%. Yet he went 6 innings and got a quality start out of it. And his average exit velocity was 88 miles an hour. That's a little hot. They were hitting the off speed pretty well. The changeup and the slider were hit pretty hard, but the cutter, the pitch he threw the most, average exit velocity on the cutter was 78 miles an hour. Like he is very, very, and that's why, again, when you're talking about barrel missing pitches, that's what a cutter is supposed to be. And some people have ridiculous cutters, right? Like Corbin Burns and such, who, they throw cutters that are so crazy that they end up being bat missing pitches. But Tyler Alexander has used and figured out how to make that pitch a very, very effective barrel missing pitch. And when he's on, man, he has certainly worked his way into being in the rotation for the remainder of this season. 100%. Alex Lang pitched in this one, looked phenomenal, struck out Mike Trout on 3 straight curveballs. One of the best pitches in baseball is the Alex Lang curveball, objectively. All the numbers say it. It's awesome to watch. Joe Jimenez with another great inning, 1 inning, 2 Ks. And Gregory Soto had to walk somebody because that's Gregory Soto, but still has a clean inning, gets out of it with a win. His ERA is down to 3.09 on the season. So yeah, it was an enjoyable, like, back and forth baseball game. It was a good, like, if I wasn't a Tigers fan, this would be a game that I would have enjoyed watching, even if the second half was a little less exciting than the first half of the game. Okay, let's get into the big game from the weekend, Sunday's game, in which Shohei Ohtani faced off against the return of Eduardo Rodriguez. First, though, got to tell you all about our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find the reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to know about the trends in action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, everybody. Welcome back here. Segment 3 of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. That's my intro, not my segment 3 start. Okay, so the Tigers would win on Sunday by a score of 4-0. Very, very solid win. Like a solid, they seemed in control for most of the game. They played one of the best players in baseball really, really well. Just a really, really solid victory for the Tigers. The pitching was solid. Let's start with the offense. So Shohei Ohtani on the bump for this one. He was trying to nibble, and he was very much trying to get, like, on the black every single pitch. And a lot of times I would imagine that he is successful with that, as he is one of the better pitchers and hitters in baseball, obviously, as we all know by now. Also, the Angels travel so well. And the Ohtani effect is definitely a thing. He has a lot of international fans, just like all over the world, that are now Angels fans, right? Because they signed him. And it's really, really cool to see. Awesome for the game of baseball. And yeah, very, very cool. So seeing the stadium pretty full, even if it wasn't with all Tigers fans, is still, high energy atmosphere this weekend for the most part. So Ohtani pitches, and he would get pulled after the 4th inning because of a stomach virus, apparently. But he went 4 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, and 2 Ks. He was not able to hit his spots, and it wasn't dramatic misses. There was a couple for sure, but it was not a dramatic, like, oh, he's missing spots by a foot and a half all game. It was just, he was trying to hit corners, and he was missing the corners by 4 or 5 inches, just enough to be, like, comfortably balls that have missed the zone. And he wasn't able to lock in and really hit all of his spots that that he usually is able to hit. And that splitter, that is widely considered to be one of the best pitches in all of baseball. He only threw 6 times, just didn't have the splitter in this one. Mostly went to the slider. And again, effective pitch, had 10 whiffs in 4 innings. Not a terrible performance. 25% CSW percentage, not terrible. It's just kind of like a miss start. Like and to the Tigers' credit, with that, the reason that it was able to be this effective start is because they did not chase, and they made him attack. They made him attack them. They waited for him to throw balls in the zone because they realized that he was trying to nibble and it wasn't working. And obviously, we get out to a great start. 30 seconds into the Tigers' first at bat. First pitch, Riley Greene sends a ball 450 feet to the deepest part of the ballpark. He had an incredible game. Riley Greene looked unbelievable. And that is why games like this are why we have to. I know it sucks to hear this, and I know I would be mad if I said this too, but we have to still be patient. Nothing is going to change the way this season has gone. No individual performance, there's nothing anyone on this team could do. We could win out. We're missing the playoffs, right? This is unsalvageable. So we're gonna have to be patient on some of these guys. And performances like Sunday are why so many people are still very, very high on and are still very excited on Riley Greene. He goes 2 for 2 with 2 walks, a home run and a double, and an incredible diving catch in center field. One of the fastest sprint speeds by a center fielder all year on the play. He was just phenomenal. He was unbelievable. And his OPS is now back up to 637 on 2 games. He had 2 hits on Saturday as well. But yeah, it was good to see him elevate the ball. He's had a thing where in the last few weeks, good to see him draw walks too, because he had been really struggling with that. But in the last few weeks, he has been really just pounding the ball to second base. Like it's just been ground ball to second base and a strikeout. That's like all he's done. So to see him get in on a heater inside and turn on it and have the exit velocity and the launch angle to really just give one a ride was really, really good to see. So hopefully it's a sign of things to come. Hopefully it's a turning point. And yeah, we will certainly keep an eye on that, as that is one of the only exciting things this team has left going for him is Riley Greene. Really, again, solid offensive performance. Wasn't a hit parade by any stretch. I mean, they had 7 hits and 1, 2, 3, 4 walks. So 11 base runners. It wasn't like this unbelievable performance, but every at bat was going deep into counts off of Ohtani, and they were getting, again, they're terrible runners in scoring position. This offense is just brutal with Risp, but they were getting runners on every single inning, 2 men on, bases loaded, almost every single inning Ohtani pitched. And so just really good to see a different approach and a more patient but still aggressive approach at the plate for the entire team on Sunday. Only other person I want to talk about, Carrie Carpenter, pretty quiet weekend. Still rocking like the highest OPS on the team. If you don't want to look at like, is he a qualified hitter or not with at bats? But certainly, he was bound to come back down to earth eventually. But I mean, only 1 strikeout on Sunday. It wasn't like he still looks way different than he did the first 10 at bats of his major league career, where he was just overpowered and getting struck out every time. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how he does going forward. I still want him to play literally every day. I don't think there's really an excuse for him not to. Okay, let's go to the pitching side of things. We'll start with the bullpen, just because Erod's going to be the longest conversation. The bullpen's easy because everyone looked pretty solid. Will Vest, I thought, looked better than he has in a while. Jason Foley continues to impress me. That sinker is unreal, man. And if he can just get a solid secondary pitch, I think Jason Foley can be a really, really darn good reliever for a long time. Andrew Chafin looks solid. Came in with the matchup. Got Jared Walsh on honestly a hanging slider, but Jared Walsh is really bad against lefties. And then Gregory Soto comes in for the 9th, gives up a hit, but with the strikeout, and just started throwing the ball really down the heart of the plate. And the Angels offense has been struggling as well. So pretty easy to get out of that 9th inning. So Erod will do this, and we'll do Robbie Grossman really, really quickly because I think that's important too. But Erod goes 5 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, and 5 Ks. Didn't have the best command in the world. I think him and Ohtani were kind of doing the same thing in the sense that they were both trying to hit the black every time, and Erod was just barely missing the zone. He was around the zone all game. Did not miss badly as far as like the ball going way out of the zone, really the entire game. He was in and around the outer edge of the strike zone all game, which is clearly what you want. But ideally, you just like a few more, you just like a little bit more like called strikes, right? You just like a little bit more balls that did get the black and weren't just an inch or 2 outside of the plate. But for a first game back, going up and going 5 shutout with 5 strikeouts, we'll gladly take it. Only 4 whiffs. That's obviously low, but we're gonna let him get back into the mix here. Velocity was down about 1 mile an hour to 2 miles an hour across the board. Expected. Again, first game back, hasn't pitched at the major league level in 3 months. but the average exit velocity was under 85 miles an hour. That's really solid. The cutter was an incredibly effective pitch in this one. And as far as missing barrels and getting soft contact, and then the sinker was honestly a really solid called strike pitch. He was fooling a lot of people on it, but I really like Erod, and he's someone that I really, really praise the signing a lot, and I will continue to do so. And I know a lot of people are already out on him, and it's just like whatever. There's nothing he can do. But this is a really solid pitcher, and I don't we didn't sign him to be like the ace on a World Series team. Um, because the presumption was we had a lot of starting pitchers in our farm system, and one of them would turn into that. So we'll wait and see, I guess. But Erod is a guy who can be a very solid number two starter on a competitive team when he is going. And he's still relatively young and everything. I really do think that I'm not losing sleep over the like going missing thing. I'm really not. Like this is him pitching would not have changed how this season ended up. And if he has family stuff and that's his top priority, let him take care of business during, again, a lost season anyway, in which we weren't competitive at all, and not even the pitching's fault. So I'm not losing sleep over it, and I think the rest of the contract will be what how we determine, because again, didn't get paid for while he was gone. So we'll see how he does for the next 3 years, and we'll see what the future plans with him and the Detroit Tigers are after this season. But very, very solid first start back. I do want to touch on one thing before we go. Oh, two things. Gee whiz. Sorry. Willie Peralta, DFA'd. A lot of people freaked out. Don't really understand why. Not that Willie was a bad pitcher. He was solid, but honestly, since being reinstated, he has really struggled. Even though the ERA might not show it, he is walking a ton of people. He is allowing a lot of base runners and just like squeaking his way out of danger. He was like the fifth highest leverage reliever that we've used, and he's 33 and his contract ends at the end of the year. And everybody was running around like it was some crazy, horrible decision to DFA him. I don't really understand it. With a month and a half left in the season, if you weren't going to bring him back, I okay, then I would much. The implication was on Hinch's part was that they were going to call up a kid from the minors most likely, and that was going to be the long term replacement for uh, Willie Peralta. Obviously, the immediate move was Erod, but I can't really understand why that was like such a big deal to people. That makes sense to me. So we'll see what happens and if he lands somewhere else. And yeah, I wish him nothing but the best. He was a phenomenal pickup, a rare Avila W in the record books. That was a very, very solid signing, and a guy that we signed to a minor league deal before last year and ended up starting and pitching a lot of valuable innings out of the bullpen as well over the last 2 years. So definitely a bright spot in a 2 year, well, 7 year stretch with not very many. But his 2 year stretch, definitely wish him nothing but the best, and hope that he can go maybe pitch for a competitor and provide some valuable innings down the stretch. But not a move that I really understand, like freaking out about either. Last thing I want to talk about, Robbie Grossman. I'll try and make this quick. There was a report that came out over the weekend by several beat writers that the Atlanta Braves organization pretty much sat down with Robbie Grossman and after like one meeting, fix his swing. They just had the video department and the scouting department and the analytical department sit down with him, and they went over his swing from this year, realized what was wrong with it, told him to fix it, and now he's hitting really well in Atlanta. Um, him hitting well in Atlanta doesn't bother me. I don't care. He's not on the team anymore. He was not good for us. Him being good for us this year would not have fixed this season. I don't. I honestly, I hope he keeps hitting well. I'm a big Robbie Grossman fan. I was one of my favorite players on the team last year. Um, what does bother me is the fact that how does no one in our front office have this ability? Like, how is it so easy for a competent organization to find this problem and fix it immediately? upon getting traded to the team. They sat down with him once and it was solved. How is that so easy for another organization and it is impossible for the Detroit Tigers? How is that possible? It's just it's mind-boggling how inept this organization just continues to be and has been for almost a decade now. So that's the frustrating part. I don't care that he's like hitting well. I as far as like, oh, Robbie, like I don't care. Good for you, man. I'm glad. Maybe you can play yourself into having a job again next year too. But like I the part that frustrates me is just how is that possible? How are we paying everybody in our front office and all of these like analytical departments and pro scouts and assistant GMs and everything? We are paying these dudes a lot of money. And how is every other organization able to just sit down and fix everything and with one meeting? And we over half a season in got, 560 OPS, Robbie Grossman. It's unbelievably frustrating. I do think it leads to a conversation we will have in the offseason and in a more depth area, but that didn't make sense. But we will have more in depth in the offseason. I think we're going to see a lot of house cleaning. I think the new GM is going to come in, and it would not surprise me if we saw a lot of hirings and firings within the Detroit Tigers front office. And like I said, all those analytical departments and everything. And we kind of just did a complete overhaul because stuff like that is just unacceptable. Just unacceptable. All right. That's all I got for you. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every day. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and his unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories from around the league. Follow the number one daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. That's all I got for you. Sundays always, or Monday episodes always go long. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's go try and win some more ball games. Let's hope Riley Greene stays hot. Maybe has figured out something. Maybe tweaked a swing. Hopefully Erod is here to stay, and Ed can give us some valuable innings down the stretch. Because Lord knows, with all the injuries we still have, we need innings. Hopefully Matt Manning continues to grow on that start and maybe start turning into that solidified big league arm that we thought he was going to be for so many years. Yeah, still got some stuff to talk about down the stretch and still got some stuff, believe it or not, to keep tabs on and potentially look forward to. So peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. And I will catch you all tomorrow. Go Tigers, baby.